everyone. This is My Two Cents, and today I'd like to talk about so-called democratic socialism. Because, as we all know, anything that would otherwise be a horrible idea becomes a good idea once we throw the word democratic in front of it.
I am so sick of the 1% getting this preferential treatment. Enough is enough. We need to unite and work together if we're all going to get through this.
Sounds like socialism to me.
Democratic socialism.
What's the difference?
Huge difference.
I've recently found that a number of the more hardcore socialists are actually angry with those that try and conflate socialism with democratic socialism. And there is something to say about this, since the welfare state that many liberals espouse is not really socialism as Marx would have envisioned it. So what is the difference? And is the latter a good idea? I'd say no, and that's what we'll be looking at in this video. I'm going to be reviewing a video that was put out by Mark Taylor Canfield in early 2016 called What is Democratic Socialism? So without further ado, let's get into it.
So, what is democratic socialism? A lot of people in the United States are now asking themselves that question. In the past, U.S. presidential candidate Bernie Sanders described himself as a democratic socialist.
Yeah, the same Bernie Sanders who made more than $1 million last year and owns 3 homes.
Canadian Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau could be described as a European-style democratic socialist. And Seattle City Council member Kshama Sawant also is described as a democratic socialist. So what does this mean? Many European nations have a long history of democratic socialism. Some proponents of this kind of political philosophy explain it as a balance between communism and capitalism.
So a balance between capitalism and communism, the best of both worlds, as it were. In a way, I'd say I agree with this, since most democratic socialists advocate the use of currency and do provide for voluntary transaction in the market, but they also want to take the redistribution element of the socialist enterprise in order to fix the wealth inequality program. Democratic socialism, as Mr. Canfield understands it, is essentially a synonym for expanding the welfare state. We keep a market economy, but steal from the rich and give to the poor. Democratic socialism is Robin Hood's program.
In a democratic socialist country, businesses and investors have access to private capital to finance their operations, but a safety net is provided in order to sustain those amongst the population who do not benefit from free market or monopoly capitalism.
And who exactly doesn't benefit from capitalism? Are you saying that you don't want the freedom to decide what to do with your own time and resources? You'd rather have someone else telling you exactly what to do all the time? The only people who don't benefit from capitalism are those that deliberately choose not to work. In a free market, these people would be forced to either start contributing to society or starve. But the welfare state allows them to keep living for simply sitting on their asses. Yes, I know that there are some people who can't work due to illnesses or disabilities, but as we'll see in just a bit, these people are not the majority of those who benefit from welfare.
This safety net may include free or subsidized education, healthcare, housing, food, public transportation, communications, retirement pensions, etc.
Yeah, funny thing about how he uses that word free. Everyone loves the word free, but here's the reality. Nothing in life comes free. What socialists mean when they use the word free is, we'll steal money from other people so that you don't have to pay. Suppose your neighbor cooks you a meal and brings it to your house, offering it to you for free. Well, you get to eat that meal without paying, but that's because your neighbor chose to pay for the ingredients herself and then use her time and labor to cook it without the expectation of anything in return. Even if all the ingredients were grown and raised by her, she still paid for the meal with her time and labor. Everything worth having takes time and labor. Therefore, no matter what economic system you have, someone pays. That's not unique to capitalism. It's how the world works.
U.S. President Franklin Delano Roosevelt was elected to that office for 4 terms, and he was considered a democratic socialist by many of his contemporaries.
Yeah, and in FDR's day, many people appropriately considered him to be a fascist.
Some libertarians and conservatives are opposed to public subsidies for people who are not successful in the free market.
No, we're opposed to people being given the fruit of other people's labor for doing nothing. According to the National Review, after the state of Alabama reinstituted work requirements for able-bodied working adults without dependents who received food stamps, the rolls for food stamp participation dropped 85%. 85%, mind you. What does that tell you? It tells you that the vast majority of people receiving welfare through food stamps weren't on welfare because they weren't successful in the free market. It shows they were choosing not to work even though they were fully capable of doing so just so that they could collect welfare benefits. Besides this, the bottom income earners in America already pay no income tax at all. So whenever the welfare state is expanded, the payment comes from the top earners and the middle class. Does it not bother you that people who pay no income tax at all can vote to elect politicians who promise to raise the taxes on those that do?
They complain that socialism involves big, expensive government programs that should not be funded by taxpayers. Many liberals maintain that it's much more humane and actually less expensive in the long run to take care of members of the community.
Less expensive in the long run? Since Lyndon Johnson's War on Poverty began in 1964, the government has spent more than $22 trillion on anti-poverty programs. And despite this, the poverty rate has hardly moved. In fact, it has actually stagnated after having been consistently falling prior to the beginning of the War on Poverty.
They do not trust mass concentrations of wealth in the hands of only a few very powerful corporations and individuals. This to them is undemocratic.
Yeah, it's undemocratic when people are allowed to keep the fruits of their own labor. But if you vote to steal from other people, then that's okay. This is why it's been appropriately said that democracy is two wolves and a lamb voting on what's for dinner. Just because you vote to steal from someone doesn't make it moral. This is why democratic socialism is just an effort to morally justify theft. Basically, either you give your money to the government to be redistributed as they see fit, or men with guns come and take it from you. In any other circumstance, this would be called theft. But people voted for it, so that makes it okay.
So, whatever your beliefs are about democratic socialism, the fact is that many European nations consider themselves to be democratic socialists. It's certainly not a new idea. For many residents of the United States, the concept is still a mystery. I can only conclude that our education system and our national media have failed to adequately provide information to the public regarding many world social, economic, and political theories.
Well, at least we can agree on that point. The media, with its leftist agenda, is doing everything it can to try and keep people economically illiterate, and convince them that robbing Peter to pay Paul will leave everyone better off. Funny thing is, all this does is disincentivize those who work hard from continuing to work, and teach lazy people that it's okay to be lazy. Honestly, when given the choice between working so that some of your proceeds are given to someone else, or not working and having other people's proceeds given to you, how many people do you think are going to pick the first option? This is why Margaret Thatcher said, "The problem with socialism is that eventually you run out of other people's money. The more the welfare state is expanded, the more they will have to steal from the rich. The more the rich see their hard-earned profits being stolen, the less they'll work and join the ranks of the poor. And so you have to start stealing from the middle class. But then the process repeats itself as the middle class become the rich become the poor, and eventually everyone becomes the poor, and equality is achieved. At last! Only problem is, instead of everyone being equally wealthy, socialism makes everyone equally poor." Well, that's it for this video, everyone. Thanks for watching, and remember, under democratic socialism, everyone will be equal once we're all equally poor. That's my 2 cents. Take it for what it's worth. Thanks everyone for watching. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. You can also hit the bell to ensure you're notified every time I upload a new video. Also, if you like my channel, please consider becoming a patron so I can ensure that I have the time and resources to keep putting out content. Check out the video link in the description to see what kinds of rewards I offer for becoming a patron. You can also follow me on Twitter, Minds.com, VidMe, and WordPress. Uploads are every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, so stay tuned for more videos.